It's a really wonderful, beautiful day here in New York, in Queens. Really beautiful. Well, I don't have the nature in the tree. Well, actually, there are no leaves on the trees. I just obvious, obviously realized that. So I was gonna show you all the beautiful trees, but I can show you other beautiful nature that we have here. Yeah. But you know, I wanted to go to the gym. So funny. I wanted to go to the gym this morning, uh, but on 1st of January, you want to not like I'm getting back to the gym. I've been going to the gym already very consistently, but it's like first of the year, wanted to go to the gym, then realized, okay, well, it's closed. So uh, yeah, closed, but until 12 p.m. or 12 in the afternoon, it's closed. So I'm like, oh, I can't get to the gym this morning, but it's okay, right? Because anyway, I just recently, I've been traveling around in a lot of places. Whole December was packed in terms of just traveling and holiday stuff, and a lot of disruptions to my schedule, and so I was getting back to more consistent exercise anyway, and my body's a little sore, so I can take the day of rest, right, between kind of getting back into it really, really full force this week. I really started going hard this week, and then Wednesday I can take that day to let my muscles have full recovery. And it's kind of a good segue into what we're talking about, because it's there's a balance, right? In terms of when we set goals and getting more done and being productive, there is a balance between these active periods and the recovery time. And we think, okay, recovery, it just sounds like self-care sounds wonderful because it's trendy and people talk about it and stuff like that. But recovery periods, really having strategic recovery periods and actually having them be recovery periods, like fully recovery periods, is a part of productivity. And and I don't, listen, guys, I don't want to pretend to you that I'm some productivity expert. I don't pretend to be some productivity expert. All I know is stuff that has worked for me very well over the years, stuff that has worked well for people that I've worked with over the years. Um, I know that pretty well, and I also know a little bit of the like clinical research having to do with productivity. Some of the organizational behavior stuff that's out there having to do with productivity, and what is said in that literature. So I know a little bit of that stuff that I take with me and I implement, and I can kind of share. I think the number one thing, just to start out with, is whatever your goal is, whatever our goal is, having at the very least the goal of keeping a calendar. I know it's so basic, but Cal Newport, when Cal Newport is supposedly a productivity expert. Actually, he pretty much is. He is a behavioral scientist, full-fledged behavioral scientist. So just because he's coming from that actual scientific perspective, Cal Newport does have a lot of my respect, and I think he has a lot of great points. But Cal Newport, you should read some of his books on deep work, slow productivity, and all of that. Really, really great stuff. But one of the things that he emphasizes is having a calendar, or actually having a calendar. Actually, there's Nassim Taleb, Nassim Taleb, Nassim Taleb. He's another writer on productivity. Actually, great book of his is Indistractable. Both of these authors, and many authors, many writers, many researchers on this topic, emphasize something really, really simple, which is just starting with having a calendar. And it could be a paper calendar. You could go old school, right? You could have a Notion. I just use Google Calendar. I love Google Calendar. I use it, and really, really helps me. One of the things that I do, and I'll talk a lot. I'll talk a lot about. Hey, Weirdo 222. Yeah, welcome. So one of the things I I ascribe to, one of the things I use my calendar for, is is deep work, scheduling in deep work. Now, I know it's like a fairy tale for a lot of people, right? Because, deep work is typically like, 2 hours of time, right? 2 hours or 1 hour of focused time, right? Now, to be fair, Cal Newport does talk about, interspersed periods of deep work. You can have 15 minutes here or 5 minutes here of deep work and still call it deep work. You can. So whatever your time span is, the key is to have a little bit of some sort of set weekly schedule, and that's what I do too. I have some set weekly times where I'm working on set weekly tasks. And the beauty of that, and I set them up on my calendar as repeat tasks, like weekly tasks. You can set it that way so that it's always the same time. Now, that's also a little bit of a fantasy, right? Because things get thrown into our schedule, into our calendar that we, aren't aware of or can't foresee. Things come up. We get unfocused sometimes. Sometimes we're not feeling it and we get distracted, right? There are a whole bunch of things that can come up. So, but even though that's the case, when we have our schedule, when we have blocks of time like that set up on repeat, what we can do, and what I do often, is I just move those blocks to different time spaces, right? It's very, very effective. Now, this is all, in a sense, common sense. So why are we talking about things that are kind of common sense? Well, we're starting with that. That's the start. But we're starting with that because a lot of times we don't do what's common sense. Like, a lot of this is common sense. A lot of weight loss is common sense, for instance. And I don't want to downplay people who really, really struggle with weight loss. But, it is, in some sense, as simple as eat less, move more. It really is. Now, yes, there are also sorts of special conditions I'm aware of when people have been dieting for a while and they develop brown fat and it's very hard to get rid of and all that stuff. I'm not talking about a lot of those cases. In the majority of cases, a lot of these things are very, very simple. But what do people opt in to do? They opt in to use GLP-1. They opt in to use Wegovy or the weight loss drugs because it may seem easier, but in the long term, they're not really okay. You're losing weight, but you want to be healthy. This is just one example. The goal is to be healthy. So obviously, the two things we want to really focus on are the common sense things. We talked about calendar scheduling. We talked about these repeated events, setting up these repeated events on your calendar and being able to move them as needed, right? Playing with the time blocks. But also, besides the common sense things, being very clear about what the goal is. Like, okay, weight loss is the goal. Is weight loss, fat loss is the goal? But why? Do you just want to be healthy? For me, the reason I work out, right, is it's not necessarily like fat loss. I want to be strong. I want to be mobile. I actually have a very specific reason. Like, I love hiking. I love going up mountains, right? Hiking up mountains, hiking up volcanoes, the inactive ones. Don't worry. So, like, I love doing that stuff, and I want to be able to do that stuff and have the ability to travel. I love traveling, right? So I want to. That's my really overarching reason for staying healthy, right? And so if you don't have that motivation, then you need to get that, obviously. Okay, let's talk about some other things that I think people struggle with a lot in terms of their schedule. All right, feel free to tell me what your goals are. All right, greetings. Hey, Ali, welcome. Nice to have you here. So a lot of times we struggle, and I think this can apply to all of us. We struggle with, how to fit everything in our schedule that we need to do, that we want to do, right? Now, a lot of people will say, okay, don't multitask, but there are more passive ways of multitasking that have been shown to actually be effective. For instance, if you're trying to do two simultaneous intellectual tasks, yeah, it's really hard, right? Let's say you're trying to enter data into a spreadsheet and you're also trying to have a conversation on the phone, right? Those are two things that actually you won't do both well, right? However, something that I do that I think I've just done over time, it really is effective. I use not my entire, but most of my workout time as like my education and learning time too. So if I'm at the gym, I've got my headphones on. I think a lot of us, are listening to music. That's cool. No judgment. No judgment if, you're at the gym listening to music on your headphones. Great. Like, do that, right? No judgment against that. But I actually turn that time into time to listen to something that I want to learn about. It could be a YouTube video. Sometimes it's like right now I'm listening to a history of the Middle East from 1700s to 1900s. I want to brush up on my history of that part of the world, right? Why? Just because, right? And I'll do this targeted study of different topics based on my interest at different points in time. Later when I'm on the treadmill, like for my cardio session. Thank you. I appreciate it. I won't say I don't try. I try. Okay. I don't know. I'm cute in a nerdy way, right? Okay. Thank you. You didn't say it. I did. So, so anyway, what was I gonna say? You distracted me. But, all right. So with your nice comment, by the way, but yeah. So do multiple things at once. If you're doing something like a physical task, there's no reason we can't, or driving, for instance. Why can't we get an audiobook going, or we're on our commute time, we can get our audiobook going. We can, on my treadmill, right, when I'm doing my cardio, as I said, I read books. I whip out my Kindle and I read a book, right, or whatever the current book is that I'm reading. So we can do these things and kind of leverage multiple things at multiple times. Let me know your goals, guys. I'd love to learn what some of your goals are for 2025, and just on what are you struggling with? What are you struggling with trying to figure out what goals to set in the first place? Do you have some goals that you want to set, but you're just not sure how to break them down, how to achieve them? I mean, I'll tell you, I've worked with lots of, my whole experience with this, with goal setting, is probably 11 years of entrepreneurship. I'll say 11 years of entrepreneurship. I ran a test prep agency where I had to, interview, hire teachers and tutors and all that stuff. I ran, sales teams and, helped people set goals and set up action plans for that stuff. So feel free to let me know some of your goals, like what you're struggling with, and I'm happy to help you break them down and brainstorm a little bit, because I know it can be very hard, and the numbers side of goal setting can be very difficult, right? How do I get from I want this to happen, and then there are like 5 steps in between what I want to happen, the outcome, and my action, right? So it can be a little bit difficult and challenging. So I'm here to help. And by the way, if you ever just want to chat, or you want help with that, I have a Discord chat. You guys can join my Discord group, Discord community. We have like more than 100 members in there right now. So it's nice. It's a nice group. You guys can chat with other members, me, whenever you want, ask these kinds of questions, or you can email me directly. I'm happy to chat with you, really, like anytime. So another thing that I've actually focused on, that I do want us to focus on in 2025, regardless of whatever your financial or material goals are, it's really, really key to focus on our social goals too. What do I mean? A lot of times we get so focused on work-related goals or like business-related goals or stuff like that, that we don't focus on our friendship goals or relationship goals or, romantic relationship goals, or just, even if you want to call like networking goals and stuff like that. It's very, very important. I actually, back from my sales days, I was always taught in sales to get lists, build lists, right? Build big, long lists of people, of contacts, right? And always add to my list of contacts. Always be prospecting and all that stuff. Now, I'm actually I'm like sick and tired of that now. I don't think in those terms anymore. I like don't want any part of that anymore. Nothing against sales. I just I'm in that stage of my life where I don't want to I don't want to treat people as dollar signs, and that's where my mentality was like getting, and it's just like I'm so over treating a person as like have an ulterior motive for interacting with somebody, right? When you're in sales, and just to explain more, like when you're in sales, especially like front-facing sales, a lot of different sales, you basically are always thinking, whenever you're interacting with somebody, in the back of your mind, even if it's just in the back of your mind, you're thinking, oh, this person might be a prospect. Let me dig in and let me ask some key questions and see if they would be a good, if I can potentially slip in something about my business or something like that into the conversation. I actually am in the stage of my life where I no longer want to do that at all. Even when you're in, not a directly heavily sales-based business, you're in, I was running a test prep agency, like a physical storefront business, and it's still the same mentality, even when you're outside of the business, because you're like, oh, there might always be some opportunities to pick up some new clients, right? So you're always thinking in that mindset of like people as potential dollar signs. And I just like, I've gotten to the point in my life where I don't want to feel that way when I interact with people. So I would say for everybody, all of us, one key goal is to have a goal this year to develop strong, genuine relationships with people. And I'll share a little bit how I do this, but build strong, genuine relationships with people this year. And here's the thing. Here's the long-term benefit. First of all, your motivation should be genuinely connecting with people, right? But the long-term benefit is, long-term, as you're connecting with these people, you never know how people are going to end up benefiting you in some way, right? Your connection with somebody, because you had that genuine desire to connect, genuine desire to build a relationship. Long term, you never know how that's gonna end up benefiting you both in a material sense. So in some sense, don't focus on that up front. Focus on the person, getting to know the person, building a real relationship, getting vulnerable, getting real with the person. And then long term, you never know what that benefit is going to be, right? So I actually, again, going back to my sales days, when I had to compile these huge lists of people and contacts, one thing that I would tell everybody is, and that I do, I'll just share what I do. I make lists of every single person. I'm no longer in like sales. I run a business, but it's like YouTube business. Who's what contact list? You know what I'm saying? It doesn't make sense. But anyway, I'm not going to build like a list of contacts for YouTube, right? So anyway, at least not in the same way. Like I'm interacting with. Anyway, let me get into it. So I build lists of people in a spreadsheet, and because I just like I'm going through my life and I'm meeting people, and I have good conversations with people, I am very mindful to just add them to my spreadsheet, and and so that I remember them, right? And then I go back periodically and just check in with that person. Hey, how you doing? How have you been? What's going on? And hey, when can we meet up for coffee, lunch, and whatever? And I do that because how many people, ask yourself, how many people have you interacted with in the past year, in 2024? And you had some nice, decent interaction with them, but then you never followed up with them and talked with them again. You never did. You never talked with them again. And why? I'm going to tell you why you did that. Because I have lots of sales experience. The reason you don't do that is because you think that person would think it's weird for you to touch base with them again. But let me actually tell you the reality, and actually this is borne out by actual psychological research too. People who you want to connect with also want to connect with you, most likely. And they're just as afraid. They're just as afraid of seeming weird. But they do have that desire to connect. So you, in a sense, like, we have to be the leader. We have to be somebody who steps up and has that courage and says, okay, I'm gonna maintain these connections, maintain these relationships. And hey, Nikhil, Happy New Year, everybody. I said it at the beginning of this live stream, but hey, Happy New Year, Happy 2025. I hope everybody is flourishing and looking forward to a great year. So, yeah. So as I was saying, that's one thing that I do. And I recommend everybody keep a spreadsheet. Just keep a spreadsheet of people. Again, don't treat it like as a sales situation. You're just keeping a spreadsheet of people that you meet and know, so that you can over time follow up and maintain the relationship and strengthen that relationship. Because I will say, over time especially, you never know how people can collaborate. You never know how you can, and it's actually a big goal of mine for 2025 is I want to be more meaningful about building stronger relationships with the people who are on that spreadsheet that I keep. So I want to do more collaborations in 2025. How about you guys? Like, what are some of your goals for 2025? But I want to do more collaborations with people. I want to actually get my six-pack back because over the winter, I lost it a little bit. So, but I'll get it back. Headed back to the gym in 2025. I mean, I've already been back to the gym, but as I started this live, most of you weren't on here at the beginning. But wow, the holiday, lots of traveling. The holiday really threw me off in terms of, and then also my traveling, through Europe and in different places in Europe, really threw off my schedule. So yeah, it was tough, but so I'm rebuilding my strength at this point. But what are you guys doing today? Ali, welcome, and Happy New Year. What do you guys have planned for today, or what have you been doing to celebrate the New Year? Anything special? I think it's morning here for me, so what we're gonna do is probably just go out for a meal, and we're probably going to maybe see a movie. So that'll be fun. Just keep it low key, keep it simple, simpler is good. So I talked about keeping a calendar so far. I talked about deep work. I talked about what else did I talk about? I talked about keeping a spreadsheet of people, right, to connect with. One thing that I do want to talk about is your environment. So in 2025, one of the goals we should have is to keep track of, who is in our environment. What's our environment like? There's actually because it can affect our mindset. Now, there's actually brand new research out on this about organizational mindset. There's a great book that came out in 2024 that I read that is called Cultures of Growth, and I forget the author at this point in time, but it's two authors. They did a lot of research with Fortune 50 companies and other organizations, schools, and they looked at organizational mindset, how the environment you're in affects your mindset. And yes, we may start out with very good, ambitious goals, and we have the perfect productivity system, but you understand that doesn't all happen in isolation, or like that doesn't just work in isolation, right? What the researchers showed and showed extensively is that even if you have a very strong mindset, you think you have a great growth mindset, the organization that you're a part of absolutely will affect whether you maintain that growth mindset or whether you, bit by bit, scale back and develop a fixed mindset. And you might not even know you're doing it. It's just the organization you're a part of, the culture you're a part of, is forcing you to do that. Okay, unbeknownst to you. Right. So I think my point is, all these great goals that you have will be sabotaged, and all the productivity hacks that you have will be sabotaged if we don't really focus on the organizational cultures that we're part of. All right, and that might mean in 2025 quitting a certain job. Easier said than done, I know. It's easier said than done sometimes. All right, so it sounds so simple, but a lot of people are in situations where, okay, I have to accept a certain job because of my health insurance, or I have to or you know, I have to do this or that job because I have no other option. Or like, I get it. I mean, anybody who's seen my content, I told you, like, I know what it's like to go into a supermarket with $21 US in the US, just for context, because I don't know where everybody's tuning in from, and that's not a lot of money for a week of worth of groceries. In fact, $21 for groceries is, I don't know, you can get just a few items for the week with that amount of money in the US. Maybe like you can get 2 meals in New York City, especially. Maybe you can get half a meal for $21. So a little snack for $21. So I'm kind of exaggerating, but not too much. If you go to Manhattan, you know, $21 maybe for a glass of wine. So, but yeah. So anyway, all these things can sabotage you. So, you know, I can't go into it on a live stream like this right now. Like, how do you transition from an organizational culture that's toxic to another one that's more growth oriented? It's easier said than done, but the reason I'm bringing it up, because this is a goals one. And welcome, Meowingtons. I love it. I actually love it. I call my dog sometimes Doggerton. Yeah, so I can appreciate the Meowingtons. All right, so I love that username. Anyway, my dog is so cute, guys. Next time I will actually bring my dog onto the live stream. I have to introduce you guys to my dog. She's amazing. She's amazing. Anyway, love my dog. Anyway, I also Meowingtons. I don't know if you're a cat person. Maybe you are a cat person. I have had cats all my life previous to having a dog. And of course, here's what happens when the wind blows. My hair goes everywhere. That's just my hair. Anyway, what was I gonna say? So yeah, the reason I'm bringing this up about how to transition from these toxic organizational cultures is to just be aware of it. You may not know exactly how you're going to make that transition, but the first step is being aware of it. I would say journaling as another habit to start in 2025 if you don't already. Journaling has been so powerful for me in 2024. So powerful for me. And it helped me tremendously. I mean, I actually did an end of year reflection on my journal, and just looking back, and I actually asked ChatGPT to summarize some key points and stuff, and I was like, wow, all of these insights from 2024. So if you don't keep a journal, especially by the end of the year, you don't know actually what you've learned, like, because the days fly by. It's good to keep a track of what's going on, the progress you've made, and just see your growth journey. So yeah, I have really appreciated hanging out with you guys. I always appreciate hanging out with you guys. Guys, if you want to see more of my content, check out my channel, subscribe to my channel. If you want to check out ways that you can work with me personally, check out the links in my info section. I have a great Dream Life System course, and also ways to work personally with me as well, if you want to do that. So guys, have a wonderful rest of your day. Let's make 2025 the best year ever. Take care, guys.